Joining us to discuss all this is Dr. Scott Gottlieb, former FDA commissioner, sits on the boards of Pfizer and Illumina, and is a CNBC contributor. So the numbers clearly, Dr. Gottlieb, are moving in the right direction. That's led to this resurgence in the economy, the reopening trade in the stock market. But there are still some questions. As more and more people get vaccinated, what do we know about those that have been vaccinated, whether they still get sick or even hospitalized with COVID-19? Is there more data?
Well, the data that's coming out is very encouraging, both the data out of the U.S. and the data out of Israel. It shows a sharp reduction in severe disease, consistent with what we saw in the clinical trials, but also a reduction in transmission. We're seeing in both the data coming out of Israel and the data coming out of the U.S. that people who are fully vaccinated are much less likely to transmit the infection, even if they become asymptomatically infected. And that, in fact, was the basis for the CDC's recommendation that people who are fully vaccinated no longer need to wear masks indoors or outdoors. It was a realization based on the data that even if they become asymptomatically infected, they're less likely to transmit the infection to others. So it's encouraging. I think that the gains that we're seeing right now are secured for the summer. I think you're going to see prevalence levels continue to decline. I'm watching hospitalizations. Those have been steadily declining. It's a lagging indicator of the overall morbidity of the disease in the population. But we're seeing it come down. I would expect that to accelerate.
If that's true, why then do we still need to wear masks on cruise ships and on airplanes and in doctors' offices? It seems a little bit arbitrary if we don't need them in restaurants and gyms where many more infections and spreads have been traced to during the course of the disease.
Yeah, they're deemed to be higher risk settings. I mean, especially in a medical environment where you have people who are vulnerable, I suspect that they're going to be required in medical environments for a protracted period of time. I think that you're going to see the mask requirements get pulled away from a lot of these settings. They'll be maintained in certain settings like cruise ships, in part because that's going to be the CDC requirement in those kinds of settings. But I think in a lot of these settings, you're going to see masks become less common as prevalence declines going into the summer. You know, people still wear masks going into stores, even if they've been fully vaccinated. I know individuals who do that. I've done it myself. I think it's a part of social etiquette right now. But I think as prevalence declines and people become less concerned about coronavirus more generally during the summertime, you're going to start to see mask mandates and mask utilization, not mandates, but utilization really decline. The risk is going to be quite low, even for individuals who are unvaccinated, although I think people should still get vaccinated. But I think if the virus isn't circulating at very high levels, the risk is going to be low to most individuals.
So Dr. Gottlieb, would you say as we stand today that there's almost no case for us to consider going back into lockdown later in the year or at any point going forward, given that we've kind of gone through that process, that the benefits might be lower and there's got to be a time limit as to whether those types of actions are the right path forward when you consider the trade-offs?
Well, look, I think that there's going to be a re-adjudication of non-pharmaceutical interventions, the kind of mitigation that we used in the setting of this pandemic, not to take that out of the playbook should we face another pandemic in the future, but to rethink the strategies and look at what was effective and what was less effective in the context of SARS-CoV-2. I don't think, barring something unexpected with this virus, a new variant that pierces prior immunity, pierces the vaccines in a way that we haven't seen yet, I don't think that we're going to be in a situation where we're going to have to go back to broad-based mitigation. You might see selected mitigation in certain cities if we do have epidemics in the late winter. You might see selected school closures, but it's going to be reactive. It's going to be when there are dense epidemics. You might see localities taking certain measures, but nothing on the scale of what we've experienced. And look, we'll continue to chip away at the vaccination rates. Right now, we're at about 62% of adults vaccinated. We'll probably get close to 70% by July 4th, which is the president's goal. There'll probably be a drop-off as we get into sort of June and July, in July and August, excuse me, and then it'll pick back up as people contemplate going back to work, back to school in the fall. So we'll continue to get vaccination rates up.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.